Welcome everyone to Duel 100 Achievement Get. And I should note that this is not the special duel video that you've been waiting for. This is a regular duel video plus deck request. This is the yeah, I'll go into the deck request later, but the reason this is not the special duel video is because the last duel video I did was May 29th, and I stole the duel videos out a bit because I want to Duel 100 to be the special duel video. But the person I am in contact with, I will be dueling a big YouTuber as promised, but he's very busy the next couple of days, so that'll have to wait until like next week or something. So I didn't want to have you guys wait for over a month for the next duel video, so I decided to just keep things going. I have a lot of deck requests to go with, and also I said the next request was Ally of Justice, but honestly I really don't have I don't all of the things I tried with that, it just didn't work. So if anyone can help me with Ally of Justice, please contact me on DN or YouTube and help me with that. So I decided to just go with the next one on the list, which is Insects, and I made a deck around Verdant Sanctuary with Insects, and I really like it, so I hope you do as well. Now here's the thing about Verdant Sanctuary and Rescue Rabbit. If you just decide not to Xyz summon with Rescue Rabbit, both insects are destroyed during the end phase. Verdant Sanctuary will start a chain link for every insect sent. 2 level 4 insects are sent. Verdant Sanctuary activates twice. I'm able to add Beatron and Aztekapede to my hand. Aztekapede for a special summon, so I could just have a 1900 beater on the field, or I can use it later, or I can use it for an Xyz summon. Beatron is normal summon to then send Verdant Sanctuary to the graveyard to summon an insect from the graveyard, to then go into an Xyz summon, and I have a second Verdant Sanctuary in my hand, so I can use the first one for Beatron's effect just fine. Now here, all he does is play a set monster, so I'm like, hey, here comes the special play. Because the strongest 2 level 4 normal monster insects are Insect Knight and Neobug. Neobug at 1800 attack, Insect Knight at 1900. I decided not to use Neobug though, and instead use Garoshin Kuwagara at 1700 attack, so that allows me to use Lightning Chidori, which I used right here, which made a very nice play. His monster, upon the Xyz summon of Lightning Chidori, is sent back to the bottom of their deck. And now I banish Insect Knight to summon Aztekapede, and I attack directly with both monsters, so that's almost half of his life points gone. And when Aztekapede inflicts battle damage to the opponents, the top card of their deck is sent to the graveyard. And this reveals what kind of deck he's running. He's running machines, because I mill none other than limiter removal. He doesn't want that in the graveyard. I have a lot of stuff still waiting for him. Beatron for an Xyz summon. Gores would he somehow wipe out my entire field. A second Verdant Sanctuary. Heavy Storm would he get back row at some point. So I'd say I started with a real good hand. I'm feeling good about it. Now he summons G-Nex Neutron and then just goes into end phase. I find this very weird, because he knows Lightning Chidori is on the field that I can just send him back to the deck. Although the way he spoke during my next turn makes me believe he either forgot the effect or didn't know about it, and he just leaves it there without anything else, making me just able to destroy it. And then with 2 direct attacks of 1900, I just need 400 more attack points to defeat him, and he knew, well, he could have known that I had Beatron in my hand, because I did add it to my hand with Verdant Sanctuary on my first turn. So I'm like, I could go for something. Nah, not going into something. I'm just gonna summon Beatron and finish him off. Like that. I can always, in main phase 2, send Verdant Sanctuary to the graveyard, summon into something Xyz. Would he have Tragodia or something? So I can do something accordingly. But he didn't. My monsters attacked directly for game. Thank you, luffydouglas, for the duel. Time to go into deck profile. I'll see you guys in a bit. Welcome one and all to this next deck profile of a deck request deck. I was requested by... Get out of the way. I was requested by Christopherdinsinore to make an insect deck. I remember playing against Christopher. He was using an insect deck and wanted me to make one, so here it is. At first, I should say, like, I had no clue what to really make with insects, because they didn't really have that big, like, super great support. So, someone gave me this deck, which is a lot of stuff together focusing on insects, but we both knew that it wasn't a great deck, but I just wanted to use this deck to know what I should not be playing. So, I suppose that would save me time once I came up with the deck. And then I came across Verdant Sanctuary and, in a way, built my deck around that. So let's go into the deck. I have 3 copies of Insect Knight and 3 copies of Garochin Kuwagata. These are my Rescue Rabbit targets. As explained in the duel, Insect Knight's the strongest one of the normal level 4 insects, then Neobug, then Garochin, but I went with Garochin to enable the play with Lightning Chidori, which just so happened to be useful in the duel video today. I run the tour guide engine. A couple of days ago when I got back into the deck to I suppose, practice for this duel video, I was sort of doubting if this still worked, but it does. I have 3 good rank 3s in this deck. Tour Bus is helpful to get a target back into the deck for Rescue Rabbit. Would it be necessary? Although that doesn't happen too often. And in a Rescue Rabbit deck, it's good to have Lafire the She-Dragon, where you have the option of rank 3s. And I feel good about it, so I decided to keep it in. I have 3 copies of Aztekapede, the Worm Warrior. I really like this one because you can banish 1 insect monster, and I have quite a few insects in this deck. You can banish 1 from the graveyard and then special summon it from your hand. And then it's a good 1900 beater, which is fun. But you can also use it as part of an Xyz summon, because you still have your normal summon that turn, so you can summon something like, I don't know, Garochin Kuwagata, and then Xyz into something what you want. And then it also has an effect that mills the top card of the opponent's deck. Not that useful, I suppose, but I suppose it could be a nice addition. But against some decks, you kind of don't want that, like Chaos Dragons, I suppose, Light Swarms. You probably don't want that, so. But overall, it's a good card, and the other effect barely ever really is useful, but barely ever really doesn't work, like, works in my opponent's favor either, so it's there for this easy special summon. 1 copy of Gigantes, because, well, mostly the same reason as Aztekapede. There's less Earths than there is insects. The Earths are Doomdozer, Aztekapede, Insect Knight, Gigantes itself, Rescue Rabbit, and Danipon. Still quite a few Earths. And when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to graveyard, all spells and traps on the field are destroyed. I actually never got to use that effect. Either Gigantes was only summoned at the end of the duel, or I use it for an Xyz summon. I've never yet I have yet to use the other effect. 2 copies of Beatron. This combos nicely with Verdant Sanctuary. I can just send Verdant Sanctuary to the graveyard to summon an insect from the grave, which can be Garochin, Insect Knights, and another Beatron or Armored Bee, and go for an Xyz play. I like that. 1 copy of Armored Bee, a card you really do not see often, but I do like it because it can halve the opponent's attack. Still 1600, still pretty good attack power. It's a level 4 insect, works with Beatron, works with the Xyz plays, and it is a wind monster, so it could work with Garochin Kuwagata to allow for the Lightning Chidori play. I have 1 copy of Danipon. Like, this deck isn't the fastest deck. Like, it doesn't spam a lot of monsters to the field, like, really quickly. At good pace, this deck summons 2 monsters per turn. And then, like, it's like 1 normal summon, and then, like, 1 Aztekapede. Or, I don't know, like, you'll normal summon the tour guide, but then special summon the other monster to play 1 Xyz monster that way. It's not that fast of a deck, so Danipon does work. I have 1 copy of it. When it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 insect-type monster with 1000 defense or less from your deck to your hand. I have 4 insects that work with that. Danipon itself, I don't count that because Danipon's in the graveyard that can't be targeted. Possible targets are Beatron, Magical Merchant, Aztekapede, and Garochin Kuwagata. If I have Dynipon at the very start of the duel, and I really don't have a good hand, I'll usually go for Magical Merchant, because that just sends a bunch of cards to the graveyard. Possibly, unless I immediately get into a spell or trap, but usually I want a couple of insects in the graveyard to allow for direct summons of Estekapede and Doomdozer once I draw into them, because if I would go for Grojin Kuwagata with Dynipon and I draw into Doomdozer, I can't actually summon it, and it's another dead draw, and I don't want that. 3 copies of Magical Merchant. I might cut it down to 2, because, as I said, it's really only for the first 2 turns. If you don't really start out too well, Magical Merchant is there to hopefully send some insects to the grave for Estekapede, Doomdozer, and also Beatron, by the way, and Gigantes, and then add a spell or trap to your hand, which can be used later. So I might cut this down to 2, actually. Doomdozer, instead of Estekapede's 1 insect, this one banishes 2 insects from the grave. Same other effect when inflicting battle damage. Top card of the opponent's deck is milled, and so it banishes 2 insects instead of 1, and there's a more powerful version of Estekapede for that. Their artworks are also quite similar, just different color. 1 copy of Gores, because I like Gores and it works well in this deck. It is that Verdant Sanctuary is a continuous spell, so it doesn't work with that, but Beatron can get rid of Verdant Sanctuary. You can also just not play Verdant Sanctuary. Gores does work in this deck. Heavy Storm to destroy a bunch of stuff. Dark Hole to destroy a bunch of stuff. Monster Reborn, not to destroy a bunch of stuff, it's actually to summon a monster back from the graveyard, interestingly enough. Verdant Sanctuary, one of the cards this deck sort of focuses on. It helps search out insects. If I only start out with 1 Grojin Kuwagata and it gets destroyed, I can search for an Estekapede for another special summon, or a Beatron for an Xyz summon, or Armored Bee or something. Depends on the situation of the duel, what I'll choose. And of course, what you saw in the duel, I don't do it often, and this is actually one of the only the second time I ever did it, but I felt good about doing it. Rescue Rabbit into something, and then just don't Xyz summon and just have them be destroyed. I did have an open field, except for Verdant Sanctuary, but I did get Estekapede for a special summon and Beatron for a possible Xyz summon, and I like that. 2 Mystical Space Typhoons to get rid of back row. Solemn Judgment, Return of the Different Dimension. You wouldn't immediately think of this card for this deck, but I feel that 1 Return from the Different Dimension does work, but there's quite a few cards that do banish. Doomdozer banishes 2 insects, Estekapede banishes 1 insect, Gigantes banishes an earth monster, and Rescue Rabbit banishes itself. So that's 4 cards that either banish other monsters or banish themselves, and this card can work, definitely, especially in a pinch. Summon out a lot of monsters, go into new Xyz plays. I like it. 2 copies of Mirror Force to, well, destroy a bunch of stuff, just like Dark Hole. Torrential Tribute, same story. I really like Torrential Tribute with my stroke, I love it. 1 Call of the Haunted to bring a monster back from the graveyard to allow for Xyz plays, because as I said, at a good pace this deck summons 2 monsters per turn. But if your hand isn't that good, or the opponent's cards really don't allow it, you can only really get 1 normal summon out, and then Call of the Haunted does help to get into an Xyz summon, because then usually, well, for a good amount of your plays, you'd want to sort of go into Xyz monsters to have more options, and 1 Call of the Haunted does help with getting that over. Now, this was the original 40 that I started with, and then just after I'd finished the deck, Limited Bardian's Force came on this, so I decided to try it. I believe first it was the original Bardian's Force, the regular Bardian's Force that came on, but then seeing as I was only really going into rank 4 Xyzes, and Limited Bardian's Force works with Utopia as well, I decided to go with Limited Bardian's Force and also try Chaos number 106, because it only needs a number attached to it, so I can use Utopia or Black Ship. I haven't actually used it yet, but I can see its potential. I like Limited Bardian's Force in here. I just like the Bardian's Force in general, and I'm really looking forward to playing with the new Chaos Xyz monsters in Numbers Hunters. But That for later. You can leave it out of the deck if you want. I like it in here. But if you want to cut it down to 40, like remove a magical merchant, I'll probably do that. If you don't like Bardian's Force, take that out. For the extra deck, I have Wind Up Zenmains, Leviathan the Sea Dragon, and Leviathan Dragon as my rank 3s, with Leviair being the most important one to bring back Rescue Rabbit or another monster that is banished. Because, as I said, there's quite a few monsters that do banish. For my rank 4s, I have Gagaga Cowboy, Abyss Dweller, Lavalval Chain, Maestro, Lightning Chidori, works with Armored Bee, Gorochi Kawagata. Black Ship, still very useful to get rid of Zenmains or other cards. Utopia, because it could just negate attacks. Strong 2500 attack, generic rank 4 XCs, really good, and with limited Bardian's Force, you can go into one of these guys. Gemknight Pearl, strong 2600 attack. I had Pappy Operative here before, but I barely ever use Pappy Operative these days. And Gemknight Pearl is like if you want the extra attack power over you instead of Utopia's effect, and Pearl is really the only Xyz monster I can easily go into that can go over Evil Swarm Ophion. So, but I haven't actually used Gemknight Pearl yet either, but at the time, like earlier today, I felt like Pearl would be better than Pappy Operative. But you can change it around if you want. Up to you. Number 16, Shockmaster. If you can easily make rank 4s, you're pretty much bound to have Shockmaster in your action deck because it's a really good card. Chaos number 106, Giant Hand Red. Supposed to be summoned by a Bardian's Force, or, well, a rank up magic, I should say. Once per turn, when it has a number monster attached as an Xyz material, which is only possible via a rank up magic, meaning it has to be a rank 4 number, and in my deck those are Black Ship and Utopia. It gains this effect if it has a number attached to it. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated on the field, detach one Xyz material from this card, and if you do, negate the effects of all other cards currently face up on the field until the end of this turn. Now, something important to note that I didn't actually know when this card was first released. I didn't realize it. This effect is mandatory. It's not optional, it's mandatory, you have to do it. And it's also a once per turn. So, you can be like, the opponent can be like, oh yeah, destroy something with Dark Hole. Oh no, he can negate it. And like the Giant Hand Red player will be super happy because Dark Hole was negated. But this is the thing. They can draw out your effect by using an effect that doesn't really do much. You have to negate it because it's mandatory. It doesn't say you can detach to negate. It says you have to. So you do it, you negate the weak effect, and then they come in with Dark Hole. It's only once per turn, this monster's effect, so Dark Hole destroys everything. So watch out with that one, I suppose. And then I have the two rank 5 versions of Utopia. Utopia Ray B and Utopia Ray Victory. Depending on the situation, you might want to summon one or the other. Up to you to decide which ones. As for the extra deck, this I haven't really done any match duels with this. This is more of a single duel thing. Maxi. Against a card meta, Maxi works really well, and it's an insect that you can use with like a Stekapede or Doomdozer. Neobug, if you don't like Lightning Chidori or you don't ever see yourself playing it, you can use Neobug over Gorochi and Kawagata to get 100 more attack and I suppose 700 more defense. I thought about Rank of Magic Numeron Force, but if you decide to go with Numeron Force, it has advantages and disadvantages over limited Bardian's Force. Advantage: it negates all other face-up cards on the field. Disadvantage: you can't go into Giant Hand Red because limited Bardian's Force is the only of the 3 rank-up magics that doesn't require the ranked up monster to be of the same type as the previous one. This one is a rock, and I suppose that would work with Gemknight Pearl. So if you're running Gemknight Pearl, I suppose you're okay with that, but that's still not a number monster. So I use this one to be able to actually use Giant Hand Red. Some other Xyz monsters I've thought about: Desigma and Ouroboros as another rank 3, but I barely ever get 3 monsters out that I want to make one Xyz monster with, so I decided not to use them. Daigusto Emerald can summon one of these two from the graveyard, or Gemknight Pearl, I suppose. or it's just shuffle some monsters back and draw a card. I tested it once, never used it, so. As a Golem of Destruction, I don't go into a lot of rank 3 plays. Only the Tour Guide engine is able to get me into those plays, and I'll normally always go into Leviathan. If Rescue Rabbit is still able to be used, then it's already banished Levier. And would I want to go with Defense Sandmains? Acid Golem is really only used as a monster, at least for me, but probably for a good amount of others as well. Acid Golem is used as like a final, like, if all else fails, go into Acid Golem, because it's a strong card, but it takes a big risk as well. Diamond Direwolf, it's a good card. I can see its potential, but you summon it to make it go kamikaze and kill itself usually. And since this deck doesn't have other beasts, beast warriors, or wing beasts, yeah, it's going to be a kamikaze. And I have barely ever gotten into situations where I would want to summon Diamond Direwolf and, well, kamikaze it into something. Other players have done that more. I haven't, so I decided not to go with Diamond Direwolf. If you want to play it, go ahead and play it. I decided not to go with it. And as I said, I used Peppy Operative before, but with the things I would normally use it for, Black Ship can usually do those things like defeat Gachi, defeat Zenmains. Like on face down defense position monsters, okay, that's where Peppy Operative works better. But then you have Chidori, although can't be made with everything. It's up to you which one to choose. This is the deck that I went with. I hope you guys enjoyed it. christopherdinsinore, I hope you enjoyed your deck request as well. And I'm going to see you guys the next deck request, duel video, Yu-Gi-Oh! News video, or whatever else I'll decide to upload next. See you later.